It is the dead of winter in 2015. Inside a secure control room in Kyiv, Ukraine, operators are sipping coffee, staring at the massive grid of monitors that control the region's electricity. Everything is completely normal. Then, one of the operators notices something impossible. His mouse cursor starts moving across the screen on its own. He grabs the mouse, trying to fight it, but he is instantly locked out. He watches, paralyzed in front of his own screen, as an invisible ghost systematically clicks through the control panel, switching off the breakers, one by one. Click, click, click. Within minutes, 230,000 citizens are plunged into the freezing dark. The operators scramble to log back in, but the attackers have overwritten the firmware. They even jammed the call center lines so citizens couldn't report the outage. If you think the greatest threat in cybersecurity today is a teenager leaking a video game or a scammer stealing your credit card, you are looking at the wrong battlefield. We are no longer just fighting over data. We are fighting over reality. Welcome to the terrifying world of critical infrastructure hacking. Today, we are going to break down how foreign militaries are infiltrating the water you drink, the power grids that keep you warm, and the hospitals that keep you alive. We will explore why the concept of a secure air gap is officially dead, and why security experts believe a devastating digital time bomb is already planted inside your city. To understand how a hacker can literally freeze a city or stop a train, you have to understand the illusion of modern industrial security. Decades ago, critical infrastructure was strictly analog, giant mechanical levers, physical valves, and concrete walls. But as the world modernized, utility companies wanted efficiency. They installed systems called SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition. Think of normal IT networks as the brain, processing information. SCADA systems are the muscles. They translate digital commands into physical, real-world actions. They tell a turbine to spin faster, or a chemical pump to release chlorine. Now, the engineers who built these systems weren't stupid. They knew that connecting a water treatment plant to the public internet was a terrible idea. So, they created what is known as an air gap. The industrial network was physically disconnected from the outside world. To hack it, you would literally need a spy to break into the building with a USB drive, but human convenience is always the Trojan horse. Over the last decade, corporate executives demanded to see real-time data from their plants while sitting in their comfortable offices. They wanted remote maintenance. So companies slowly started bridging the gap. They connected the IT network, the one employees use to check emails and browse the web, directly into the OT, the operational technology network. And that was the fatal flaw. The hackers don't need to break into the heavily fortified power plant. They just send a highly targeted phishing email to a third-party contractor or a mid-level engineer. Once they compromise that single laptop, they use it as a bridge. They ride the VPN connection straight through the firewall, bypassing billions of dollars in national security, and drop right into the control room of the power grid. To the automated security sensors, it just looks like an engineer doing a routine check. So, who is actually launching these attacks? Forget the stereotype of the lone wolf hacker. We are talking about APTs, Advanced Persistent Threats. Specifically, elite military units like Russia's Sandworm or Iran's Muddy Water. These are not criminal cartels looking for a quick crypto payout. These are highly educated engineers, cryptographers, and military officers. They sit in government office buildings, working 9 to 5 shifts, funded by billions of dollars in state budgets. Their entire job description is to map out the vulnerabilities of Western infrastructure, and they have already shown us what happens when they cross the line. Look at the Colonial Pipeline attack in May of 2021. A single compromised VPN password allowed a ransomware group to breach the largest fuel pipeline in the United States. They didn't blow up the pipes, they simply froze the billing systems. The company had to shut the entire pipeline down. In less than 48 hours, sheer panic consumed the East Coast. Gas stations ran dry. Fights broke out at the pumps. Commercial flights were grounded. The president had to declare a state of emergency. All of this chaos from a single leaked password. Now, imagine that same scenario, but instead of criminals wanting a multi-million-dollar payout, the attacker is a hostile nation-state whose only objective is absolute destruction. When war shifts from the physical realm to the digital, the target is no longer the military base. The target is the civilian supply chain. If you think turning off the power is the worst they can do, you haven't seen the true weaponization of code. In February 2021, an operator at a water treatment plant in Oldsmar, Florida was watching his monitors. Suddenly, his cursor moved on its own, exactly like the Ukraine attack. The operator watched as the invisible intruder opened the software that controls the water chemicals and drastically increased the amount of sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is the main ingredient in liquid drain cleaner. The hacker changed the levels from 100 parts per million to 11,100. If that operator had been in the bathroom or looking at his phone, highly corrosive, toxic water would have been pumped directly into the homes of 15,000 American citizens. It was a targeted attempt at mass poisoning through a computer screen. And this brings us to the most terrifying concept in modern cyber warfare, the logic bomb. Classified security reports indicate that these military hackers are no longer just attacking and leaving. They are infiltrating critical systems and then going completely silent. They write malicious code and hide it deep inside the telemetry of power grids, rail networks, and hospitals. The malware is dormant. It does nothing. It simply waits. It is a digital explosive wired into the foundation of our society. If a physical war ever breaks out, the enemy doesn't need to launch a missile strike. They just send an encrypted signal to wake up the logic bombs. The code executes simultaneously, overloading generators, blinding radar systems, and shutting down the financial sector in a matter of seconds. So how do we defend a society that is entirely reliant on vulnerable machines? We have to stop trusting software to do a hardware job. The defense against this invisible siege requires a radical shift back to physical security. First, the implementation of data diodes. We can no longer trust software firewalls to protect industrial networks. Critical plants must use hardware gateways that physically only allow data to travel in one direction. You can extract data to read it, but it is mathematically and physically impossible to send a command back in. Second, analog overrides. We became too obsessed with digital convenience. Every single power plant, water facility, and transit system must have manual mechanical switches that can physically sever the connection to the outside world in under 60 seconds. When the screens go black, a human must be able to pull a physical lever to keep the water flowing. Third, microsegmentation. If a vendor needs to update the software on a single hospital MRI machine, they should be entirely locked out of the rest of the hospital's network. The blast radius of a breach must be contained at the source. If you are sitting there assuming that the government has this under control, consider the harsh reality of the digital battlefield. In the past 2 years, cyber attacks against industrial control systems and manufacturing have surged by over 80%. The sophisticated malware tools originally developed by the NSA and other intelligence agencies have already leaked onto the dark web, meaning criminal syndicates can now wield military-grade cyber weapons. And most chilling of all, cybersecurity audits reveal that on average, an advanced persistent threat dwells silently inside a corporate or government network for over 200 days before the security team even notices they have been compromised. The war is no longer coming. It is already here, running silently in the background of your daily life. The monsters aren't at the gates, they are already inside the network. We track the most dangerous cyber threats in the world to keep you one step ahead of the collapse. Hit the subscribe button to join the NullTrace network. Question your connections, stay paranoid, and I will see you in the next breach.